Hi, folks. This is Rick Emmett of Triumph.
This is Mark Merrill, also known as Johnny B. Bad.
Hi, this is a best-selling author. I threw the best-selling in there. Best-selling author Dick Wybrow.
I'm Melanie from Second Shooter.
This is Jeff with Second Shooter.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Allen from Bridges Ablaze.
Hey, this is Sammy Lee, drummer of the band Red Rain.
Yo guys, it's Mark McKay.
Hey, this is Frank Fletcher.
Hola amigos, this is Billy Sheehan.
Hey guys, this is John Karabi.
Hi, this is Jim Valance.
What's up everybody, it's Logan from All the Pretty Things.
Hey guys, it's Leather Leone.
This is Nothing from Inside the Trojan Horse.
What's up guys, Cassandra Carson here from Paralandra and the Life Project.
My name's Reggie and you are listening to the Weekly Pour podcast. Thanks so much for joining the most amazing twosome out there.
It's time once again for the Weekly Pour, the show that knows everything about absolutely nothing. Here are your hosts, TbT and Ace.
That is us. That is me. That is he. I am TbT. That guy over there is Ace. Welcome to the Weekly Pour podcast, episode 182. And here we are. Wow. We are coming at you live on Wednesday, May the 20th. It is 7 p.m. and we are coming to you from the local rainforest.
Man, because it has done nothing but rain.
If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not tall grass or your pool or bugs or
all of which are still there. Tall grass, the pool's not working. All of it's still happening,
which is fantastic.
I did get it put together. The pump.
That's good. I think.
Yeah.
If it's not working though, is it actually?
I gotta get the electrical done.
Oh.
But
should it already be done? You should have just been able to unplug it and plug the other one in.
No, there's a wire that you gotta attach and other things.
You got a battery in the mower, just hook it up.
Yeah, right.
No, I guess not.
No.
So if you haven't figured it out, if you came here for balance and maturity, you have wildly misunderstood this podcast. But welcome anyway. We are here. We are, of course, live right now, as I've already mentioned. If you are not watching us live or watching the replay, hopefully you are listening to us on your way to work. We will be loud enough for you to wake up. So be sure to drink your Monster or whatever energy drink you have or your coffee. If you are watching live, as I throw that away, if you are watching live, be sure to jump into the chat. A lot of our regulars are already in. Mama TbT is in. Swathy McF is there, of course. I hope she never changes that name. Mrs. TbT, I'm sure, is in there because I can hear it in the background in my other ear. And, of course, moderator extraordinaire Natalie, who has finally decided to show up on time that is now 2 weeks in a row. So I would like to formally congratulate her for doing that. If you're watching and you are not into the chat, just jump in and say hi. You don't have to hold a conversation. Just let us know you're there. And be sure, no matter what, to hit that thumbs up button because that thumbs up button helps us out with the algorithms, which in turn kind of helps you out because it helps us pay the bills so that we have internet from both of these locations and can do this every freaking Wednesday for the last 5 years. Hence, episode 182.
It's been wow.
Yeah.
Swath McFoot has a phrase now, a catchphrase. Swath on.
Is that kind of like rock on?
Kinda. I want shirts.
The Weekly Pour podcast. Swath on. This is like a Karate Kid kind of thing. Swath on, swath off.
Yep. Exactly.
We can start a new trend, kind of like the kids have their slang for the day.
Right, but we don't know what it means. You just apply it to anything.
Yeah. Oh, swath.
That is so swath.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't like the way that looks. It's a little swath.
Just a little.
Yeah. You know what? I think it works. Trademark it as soon as this show is over. We'll get the paperwork over to legal and hopefully we'll have that done. Looks like Pam just jumped in. We want to thank Pam for jumping in as well. Moderator Natalie says 5 years of pure fun. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
We think so. I know how your week has went. Our show is actually going to be part of how your weekend went. But I got to tell you something. I got propositioned today.
By what? Who? Where?
Who doesn't matter. But I got a random text that said that we needed to, how do I say this and keep it PG? Fornicate on the front porch.
What? What?
Right. I got that, not knowing the context. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Randomly, out of nowhere. Literally had to make sure it was okay with
Both
Mrs.
of us?
TbT. No,
Or
just
just
me.
you?
Sorry, just
Oh,
me.
just you.
Just me. Yeah. It was only just a few minutes later, a couple seconds actually, that I realized that I didn't look above that text and see that someone had sent a beverage, a refreshing adult beverage that is entitled Fornicate on the Front Porch. So the person didn't really want to fornicate on the front porch. They wanted to make refreshing adult beverages. Kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I'm
But
like,
not really.
okay. No, I understood. It made more sense why I would get that random text. So,
well,
she knows who
and
she is, and I guarantee she's watching.
at no point did you wonder why the front porch?
No, I'm down.
You're just down for anything.
I don't care. Front porch, back porch, lazy porch,
dog cage.
No, I've just had to look at it. No.
Right.
Speaking of dogs, now that I'm done talking about fornicating on the front porch, the polar bear has gotten slightly better in the 7 days since the last time I talked about him.
Good.
Yeah. Although I'll tell Mama TbT to cover her ears, I did have an oh shit moment last night. It's literally the least metal thing you could ever do. The least rock and roll thing I've ever done in my life.
What's that?
You have to, yes, getting swathy on the porch. I like it. See, you can use it for anything.
For anything.
All right, let me tell you.
It's pretty fruit.
If you have never had an insulin vial, little bottle, they separate. The liquid inside separates. Liquids from, I'm assuming, liquid solids. If it's a liquid solid, wouldn't that make it a liquid? This is why I'm not a science major. Anyway, you can't shake it like a Polaroid picture. You have to, as what we were shown, you have to roll it. So we'll use this glass as an example. You have to roll it in order to mix it. If you can see that, you have to roll it. Right. So that's what I do. I roll it so that it can get mixed. Don't want to shake it. No Polaroid. You got to roll it gently. I'm doing this, and at some point, it sprouted legs and rolled out of my hand and shattered on the tile kitchen floor.
Is this someone's life-saving medicine?
It's the dog's.
It's the dog's life-saving medicine.
Yeah.
And you just threw it on the floor.
I didn't throw it. It fell. It walked out of my hand.
What did you do?
Freaked out.
Did you clean the glass out so your dog could at least lap it up?
No, we can't have that much. But you're missing the point.
Oh.
I dropped this before he got his shot.
Right.
I did not have a backup. It was 6 p.m. Not only did I not have a shot for last night, that means I wasn't going to have one for this morning, and maybe have one for tonight if I was able to get a refill.
Oh my goodness.
6 o'clock at night. The pharmacy closes at 7. I make a phone call. Sure. Pleading my case. Because, I've only had the bottle for a week. Shows you how responsible I am.
You're so responsible.
pleading my case saying, hey, I really need this. This is what happened. And then the answer on the other end was, all right, cool. We'll have it for you in like 20 minutes. What? Yeah. I was like, it takes me 20 minutes to drive there. Oh, then it'll be ready when you get here. Fantastic. Thank you. Bye-bye. Click. Go to grab my keys, and Mrs. TbT stops me in my tracks. No. TbT, you shall not go.
Why?
And I was like, why? She
Your
goes,
dog needs this.
it's because I was too wired. Because I was freaking out already that I may have just killed my dog. And she's like, no, you need to settle down. You need to calm down. I'll go get it.
Aww.
So Mrs. TbT jumps in her vehicle, backs out of the garage, heads out 2 minutes away from the house, monsoon. So not only do I have to worry about the fact that I've killed my dog, I mean, who's, only at this point 10 minutes late from getting a shot. Now I've got to worry about her drowning on her way to the pharmacy. She gets there and says, I got it. It felt like an Indiana Jones moment because I don't care if you've got it. It's not here.
No.
And it doesn't count until it's here. No. Nope. Ain't going in my hand.
No,
she
your butterfingers.
I ain't touching it. Bart Simpson better not lay a finger or lay anything in these butterfingers. So therefore, I ain't touching it. I have not given him a shot. She gave it to him last night. She gave it to him this morning. She gave it to him tonight. I don't even look at it because if I look at it, it will jump out of the refrigerator. So I have to personally thank Mrs. TbT for being my lifesaver.
Now,
and then turn the dog's lifesaver.
If this was a human, would it be so easy to get another vial?
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
I would have had the human just lap it up off the floor.
Right. Take the syringe and just
I did
soak
that.
It up.
I did that. I went down there and I went, sucked it up. And I was like, I can't give this to him. What if there's glass in it?
It probably is.
I would have given it to a cat though. But anyway, lifesaver. Appreciate it. So my week has been full of follies
and panic.
And panic. Yeah. I was like, what the swat am I going to do? I'm telling her, call the vet. Like the vet's going to be like, yeah, come on up. She's calling the one in Indianapolis that we went to because I said, call the one in Indianapolis. They'll know what to do. And then I was like, hang up. Why are you calling the one in Indianapolis? We'll call the pharmacy. Yeah.
You cut out the middleman.
Thought I was going to. Moderator Natalie, in reference to your question, says, no, your insurance would say, sorry, it's too soon.
Exactly.
I know you can OD on insulin. You can OD on anything, really.
But you would have to wait till the next day, call your insurance company and make your case, and hope that they allow you to have your life-saving insulin.
Right. No, sir, you can't have it. I don't care that you dropped your vial. Not going to happen. You're going to have to wait. You've got 13 days left before you can get your prescription. Eat a candy bar. But it's only eat a candy bar if you have hypoglycemia. Yeah, low. And if it's too high, what do? Eat more? Eat more chicken? Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's chicken. I don't know. What lowers your blood sugar other than insulin?
Insulin?
No, other than. Yeah, see? That's just it. No clue. I mean, you can eat honey, eat a candy bar, drink some orange juice, anything with sugar, have a donut if it's low. Mrs. TbT gets low blood sugar. I always know when that happens because she becomes very swathy. So I'm like, have some candy. Oh, thanks. You're welcome. Did it for you. I don't know. 15 minutes into tonight's show, you now know our issues, or at least mine, and your pool that still doesn't work. I am happy to report we do actually have some news tonight. If you've not read the introduction to tonight's episode, we've got some information on some Mötley Crüe stuff. Of course, some Jason Newsted news, which was kind of interesting. I was surprised when I heard about that. Some Alex Van Halen stuff in regards to a tour that happened a while back. But we're going to kick this off because it's what we need to do with you and your ginormous swathy trip to St. Louis, Montana to see Triumph, as everybody can see from your shirt. Even Ace forgot that he was wearing it.
I did.
So I am assuming you finally found a hotel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did we ever? We found a great hotel.
Wow.
Yes, this was my my long-awaited travel to the beautiful city of St. Louis to see the.
So the answer I was looking for, apparently, in order to lower your blood sugar, is proteins.
Well, I was going to say stabilizing food, but
all right. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Pam jumped in and she said proteins, and I knew proteins didn't have anything to do with St. Louis, Montana.
No, Missouri.
Yeah,
didn't go that far.
Protein doesn't have anything to do with Missouri.
To see the Rock and Roll Machine Reloaded tour, the 50th anniversary tour of Triumph.
Yes.
Which we've talked about at length on this podcast, and anyone that knows me knows it's my favorite band, and this was a big deal for me.
And we've had Triumph members as guests on this podcast.
Yes, we've had Rick Emmett, and Mike Levine. Both have been on this show. So that's been really, really nice. So yeah, we got the hotel. We got a one at a casino. I think it was a Park Casino. So the concert was at the Hollywood Casino Amphitheatre.
Right.
This was a few miles from that, just a short drive from that. And this thing was enormous, this casino and hotel. But that way, when my daughter and I could go to the concert, the wife could go to the casino, play a couple rounds, go back to the room if she wanted, that kind of thing.
Play a couple rounds like she's in there playing golf?
No, a couple rounds of
roulette. I knew it.
Exactly. She's that type. You know, we limped back home because we had no money. No.
Right.
So the venue, as I said, was the Hollywood Casino Amphitheatre, and what I noticed right away was this surprised me. This was almost as big as Ruoff in Noblesville, Deer Creek, as I referred to it. I looked up the seating capacity. The capacity at the Hollywood Casino is 20,000 total. They did not open the lawn for this show.
Oh, bowl only.
So yeah, so everyone was under the pavilion roof, which was nice, and that's about 7,000 or so seats, but sold out. So at least 7,000 people in this venue for this show. And
wait, where did the 20,000 come from?
Well, you have that many on the lawn. You have 13,000 on the lawn.
Holy shnikey!
7 in the casino pavilion. Ruoff is slightly bigger.
Mow that?
No, it would look great though. Ruoff is slightly bigger. They have a bigger lawn. It's one of the biggest lawns around, and you know that because we've been on it a bunch. Thing's huge, but not by much. This thing was. I was surprised how big it was. The parking lot's enormous, you know, but the staff there was excellent. You know, they got us right in, guided us to our seats. You know, the merch line. We went to the merch line to get shirts. Thing was a mile long. This is how long it was.
You just
I did not see April Wine. April Wine was the opener.
Holy.
And I actually I didn't have to see them, but I like seeing openers because I paid for it and I want to see how they are and all of that. Right. And from where we were, they sounded amazing from the merch line, but that thing moved at a snail's pace because they were trying to accommodate so many people and there was just one merch stand. So this being a smaller concert, they had just a handful of things open. Made our way there, got our shirt, found our seats, sat down, and within 15 minutes, we were watching Triumph, which was really nice. No waste, no, sitting around waiting for things to change over a whole lot. Guy in front of me was an older guy named Dave. I talked to someone at every concert I go to, and he had come from Atlanta, Georgia, for this show. So I thought I'd traveled a little bit from Indiana to
He
St.
traveled
Louis.
a lot of bit.
He did 12 hours. What he found out later, as soon as he bought the tickets for the St. Louis show, was that Triumph scheduled one in Atlanta.
Was getting ready to say, I'm sure there was going to be one closer. Even somewhere in Florida would have been closer.
Right. He's from the St. Louis area, so he thought of it more of a homecoming as well.
Fair.
Yeah, so he was cool. He was a lot older than I, and that was the first thing I noticed. Okay, every concert I go to, I've talked about, there's a mix of older people and younger people and fathers and sons and daughters and, just all sorts of really, really eclectic groups of people. Not here. Not here. I was on the younger side of being a Triumph fan. This was a very much a geriatric crowd. I hate to say that. Very much a geriatric. I mean, wheelchairs and a lot of gray hair, a lot of big bellies. There was a lot of old people there. But when we got up to our seats, April Wine was just finishing up. And that old geriatric crowd was actually up, and they were screaming to the music. They were playing "I'm a Roller," which was a pretty good hit for them. Having a blast. I'm like, well, this is cool. Everyone's amped up for this, right? So that was kind of cool, but that didn't last. They didn't last because the crowd, as amped up as we were to see Triumph, about 2 songs in, decided it was time to sit, and they sat. They sat almost the whole time. I felt bad for standing up. I was the jerk standing up in front of everyone because I want to see this show and I want to, I'm pumped up for it.
Start throwing tubes of Ben Gay at you.
Oh yeah, no one said a word because they probably thought I would hurt them or something because I was so much younger. No one challenged me.
Teenager.
My daughter, who is 26, was with me, and she was probably on the very low side of young there for them. And my point being is that this is how long this band has been away.
Right.
Right. And you don't hear it on AOR radio. You just don't hear it. So that hasn't been passed down as much. So the group was very old. And that's not just for St. Louis. That was for everything else I've seen and heard. Older crowd, a lot of people wheeling chairs in and struggling to get up steps. So there's that.
No wonder the lawn wasn't open because they wouldn't be able to get them up.
Yeah, how would you sit?
Well, they would. They just down.
And this now, this is a once in a for me. This probably is not going to happen again. This Triumph show.
Sure.
I don't foresee them touring next summer. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
Just because of age and everything else. But so many people still got up and moved around and went to the get more beer or go to the bathroom or all this other. I'm like, who are you people?
And those that didn't? It depends.
Exactly. You're right. But they opened with "When the Lights Go Down." That's a classic. We got to see Gilmore, the drummer and co-lead singer of the band, actually sing and play at the same time. That was in question. He hadn't done this for a very long time, at least 30 years. Besides 2 one-off festivals, he has not done this for 30 years, and that was in 2007, the last time.
Sure.
He was accompanied by Brent Fitz on drums as well. So we had 2 drummers. And then, of course, Todd Kearns on bass, Phil X on guitar. And let me tell you, having those three guys there to support this act was just beyond important because of the sound.
Okay.
It helped. It helped so much, but it also didn't distract because Rick Emmett is still amazing.
Sure.
Still amazing. Every show that I have seen watching on YouTube has just gotten better and better and better. And I told my daughter, by the time we see them this last Sunday, they are going to be in prime tour shape. And they were. They were excellent. The vocals were for a 72-year-old man to go up there and sing some of the things he used to sing, not hitting the big high notes. They would leave that up to Phil X.
Well, and that's what I was going to throw in is that Phil X has got some range. What
Oh
an
my goodness.
incredible vocalist. He is all alone.
He is. And he did get a couple of songs by himself. So what they would do, Gil Moore, the co-lead singer and drummer, he sang himself 3 songs. They performed more songs that he is known to have sung on records, but those were split between Todd and Phil.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I think mostly because of sound and range, and to give him some spotlight, But and Todd is fine, a fine singer, but Phil X, oh my, phenomenal guitar player, phenomenal singer. And I got to wondering, because he looked like he was having the time of his life on stage up there with Rick, trading off guitar licks and back and forth solos and such. I got to wondering, he's having so much fun that it has to be so difficult to go back to Bon Jovi because it is so important for him to be in that band because he is even carrying more of a load in Bon Jovi than he is in Triumph. In Triumph, at least Rick Emmett can still sing and beyond play guitar.
Yeah.
In Bon Jovi, we're trying to get John Bon Jovi up to speed where he can perform a concert. And they've got, 3 or 4 in November coming up? As a matter of fact, Phil had taken a break from Triumph for about 2 or 3 days during this tour so that he could go rehearse with Bon Jovi. And I mean, that's got to be a load to carry. But this Triumph gig, this is a picnic for him. He's singing backup vocals. He sings lead vocals once in a while. He gets to trade off guitar solos with Rick. Rick Emmett was better than I ever thought he could be at his age on guitar. I mean, the thing was smoking by the end of it. Frets were on fire by the end of this.
I like it.
Yeah, Allied Forces is a signature song of Triumph. And that was the first one where we got to see some of this trade-off in guitar licks and such. The 3 of them, Todd, Kern, the bass player, Phil, and Rick, all had Flying V white guitars, all lined up on stage, just to show how cool they are. And then Rick and Phil just trading solos left and right and just burning the place up. This is now my daughter, who went with me, knows about 3 or 4 Triumph songs.
Sure.
But she's not been. None of my kids have been into the band. That hasn't passed on. Again, I raised them right on everything else, but they never latched onto that band. She was blown away. This tells you how good they were. She was blown away by songs she didn't even know. They were so good.
Now,
blown away.
If I'm not mistaken, you're talking about having these, I'm not even going to call them session players because they're all part of the band. Having all of these people in there,
well, especially Phil, because Phil has a Triumph lineage because he replaced Rick Emmett in Triumph.
Right. And I think it was on the 2011 album or 2022. I don't remember. I think he was. Anyway, you guys had like 15 songs, right, on the set list?
15 or 16, yeah. I've got it right here.
Think about that. This
16.
band that's 16 songs.
Yeah.
That's insane, including Rocky Mountain Way, which of course is a Joe Walsh, cover that they did. But who sang that?
Gil. Gil has always sang that. That was on their first American
I just wondered
release.
if it would have changed.
No, he stuck to that one and the opener, When the Lights Go Down, and then he sang one other one, Rock and Roll Machine, the signature song. What was really cool about that, Gil's a drummer and a singer. And at his age, that's kind of hard to get those vibes back. But he did it for one song. Those other two, he came out on stage and became a front man, which was really interesting to see Gilmore standing up on stage performing, instead of behind the drums and singing. But again, they've got a great drummer in Brent Fitz back there pounding away. Rock and Roll Machine is also known for a extended solo in the middle of it. That's the centerpiece for Rick Emmett right there.
Right.
He played that note for note just as he did 30, 40 years ago. Note for note. It was amazing.
That's insane. And by the way, it was Edge of Excess. That was 1992.
Yes, 92.
Yeah. I was only off by a few years. But
wow. Yeah, Phil X was on that record.
Right.
None of that was in the set. No, nothing from Edge of Excess was in the set. I don't think even anyone. Not that it's a bad record. It's just nothing that they would cover because Rick wasn't involved in it.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, this there was no let up from beginning to end. No let up. One song suffered from being dropped down a bit. They drop a step. You talked about that in octave to make it easier to sing at their age. One song suffered from that because Rick couldn't hit those high notes because the song sits really high, and that was Never Surrender.
Okay.
But I'll take it. It's okay.
Sure.
It wasn't like it was bad. They didn't fumble it up or nothing. It's just when you drop a certain song down that far, it resonates differently. It doesn't sound the same. Everything else was spot on.
What was your surprise of the night?
Oh, I'll tell you what my surprise of the night was. Two things. There's a little intro to a song called 24 Hours a Day.
Yep.
Which is a rocker. There's a little ballad at the beginning of that Rick sings. It's real pretty and lilty. The fact that he included that in the show, because that's a deep track, and then used it to intro Follow Your Heart. It just seamlessly introed into that. That was such a surprise and so much fun. On the encore, the final song, Fight the Good Fight, signature song by Triumph, instead of wailing those high notes at the end that he can't do anymore, they surprised us because when that spot hit where those notes are, they shut down the instruments and sang in 4-part harmony a cappella.
Shut up.
Almost like a church choir. It was so powerful, and it just blew us away for just that, 2 or 3 phrases, and then back into the heavy guitar and stuff. So well done. Those were my 2 big surprises.
Is this a tour stop, a show that you would encourage absolutely anybody to go see, considering, obviously, that this could be the last time we ever see Triumph on tour? Was this worth the money, and was it worth the trip?
Definitely worth the money, more than worth the trip. I would have drove further.
Okay.
And I don't do that.
Louis, Montana. So see, I was never wrong.
Well, moderator Natalie, when I didn't talk to her after we saw Paralandra last year, but I don't think that she was incredibly well versed in Paralandra when we went and saw them. But by the end of it, she was a big fan, right?
Yeah.
I believe
she
so.
traveled a distance to get there.
And I think that that this is the same type of show that you may walk into that not knowing anything, and you may come out being like, just wow, I need to buy a Triumph record.
Sure.
They were so good. Like I said, my daughter was thoroughly impressed and became a fan that night.
And
it's hard not to. It's hard not to when you have a 72-year-old man up there playing his heart out, shredding guitar, singing his soul out on stage, and everything he sings is uplifting and positive and just makes you feel good.
Other than what you've already mentioned, were there any other surprise moments? Like, did they discuss Mike Levine, with his status? Obviously, him not being there, because we already know, as we've mentioned numerous times on this show, he's only going to have certain ones that he can get to. Did they bring him up?
If any, they didn't bring. They brought him up. They threw out the back. They have the background screens in the show they put on the screens.
Of course.
Whenever when they would mention Mike, they would have those pictures fly up and talk. Mention that he couldn't make it, but this song's for him. That was about it. They didn't get too deep into it, not too specific. Usually, I will see comments of people complaining that Mike couldn't be bothered to come or whatever, but because people are ill-informed and don't know anything, but they still pop off. Mike Levine has a medical condition right now that's not allowing him to play, and he wants to be there, but he physically can't be there. And Gil had mentioned that he just talked to him that week. Yeah, it's not like they're not in communication. They're checking in, seeing how he's doing.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Well,
if you've already got one bass player, there's no reason you can't bring him out when he feels like it and play a couple songs.
You've got two guitarists and you've got two drummers. And, and for effect, you've also got two singers. So why not?
Yeah, and there was not one person, I don't think, even concerned about anything they saw on stage. Like, oh my gosh, they've got two guitar players now, and they got a bass player I don't know, and this other drummer. And no one said a word because it was just a phenomenal show, and people got it. They understood this is completely live. The Triumph could have went out there and played the tracks and faked it. They could have went out there with just Rick, just Gil, and prop a guy upset. No, they went and got solid musicians from Slash's band. They got a keyboard player that they put on stage. You see him, and there are no tapes, no loops. As Tesla would say, no machines. This was amazing.
So this next question, and I just have to mention that Viper shows up just as you're getting done talking about the Triumph show, which is very convenient, by the way. Number one, this sounds like a very swathy evening, so that's fantastic. Number two, and this is actually going to lead into our next story, but this is something that we've brought up time and time again on this show. And I know you listened to absolutely everything. Backing tracks. I can tell you right now, sure, they're going to have, if there's any orchestra, that's going to be obviously a backing track, all that.
Sometimes
blah, blah,
keyboard.
Blah. Sure, sometimes keyboard, sometimes choir stuff, whatever. That's expected. That's normal. For listening to Triumph, and I've seen some of the videos, one of which I believe you posted on our social media, on our YouTube account.
I did.
Every bit of that sounded live. I don't care about the backing tracks, but was there anything that you heard that you're like, I don't know if that's them or if that's a backing track?
Oh no, not at all. The only track was at the beginning. When they're introing the show, there is a piece on Thunder 7, the album Thunder 7, called the Time Canon.
What band doesn't do that for their intro?
And so they're playing that intro as they come out, that Time Canon. Yeah. That is the only looped piece of music that was there. Everything else was full on live, on fire, smoke coming out of the guitars, kick drums blasted open. It was amazing.
Good. The reason I bring that up is because we once again have another story where somebody in a band has to go and defend their band.
Oh, and by the way, I will, since Viper's in the room, I'm going to say, even if he went, he would like this show. As much as crap as he gives me about Triumph, I'm telling you, he's a guitar player. Viper is. And he knows he would love this show.
Yeah. And he watched the Rick Emmett interview anyway, so
exactly.
he's just talking a lot of smack.
Exactly.
Anyway, the talk of backing tracks has once again hit the headlines, at least in the rock world, because this time another band who we talk about constantly on here, and just did last week, they're having to come out once again and be like, look, we don't use backing tracks. We play live. Why this was brought up, it's not important. There wasn't anybody, saying, oh, this latest performance was backing tracks, even though there were some rumors, but whatever. Don't believe them. In a recent, another podcast, aside from this one, there was a recent interview with John Five, who, of course, is now with Mötley Crüe and has been for the last 3 years, replacing Mick Mars. He had to address one of the most debated topics in Mötley Crüe's live shows, and that's their use of backing tracks. I'm not going to go through everything he said in this interview because it's a lot of stuff. But basically it boils down to the simple answer of no. Like every other band that I mentioned, 5 minutes ago, every other band has some sort of backing track. Do you think that during Dr. Feelgood, there are nurses and doctors and heart monitors backstage with microphones next to them as they call Dr. Davis, telephone call, Dr. Davis? No, those are called backing tracks. When Metallica goes making their entrance on stage and they're playing cowboy music, do you think that's behind the scenes? No, it's a backing track. Mötley Crüe has gotten a bad rap over the past few years, obviously because of the whole John Five, Mick Mars thing, the Vince Neil vocal thing. But if you watched them on American Idol, they're not using backing tracks. It's all flipping live. Go ahead.
This reared its ugly head a few years ago on the stadium tour. If you remember, people were saying that Tommy Lee was out of sync, with what was coming off the stage, and of course, Mick Mars came out in his lawsuit talking about how nobody played live except him.
Right.
Nobody's playing live except him and Vince, of course, because obviously that's not a track.
Here's what I think happened with the people that are saying that Tommy Lee was not keeping in rhythm with what they were seeing. It's because they were watching the video screen and they're not realizing that there's a time delay.
There's a delay. You see that and you see it all the time too with singers because of vocal effects during live shows. When you sing a note and it sustains and you walked away for half a second and then you come back, he's lip syncing. No, they're sustaining that note, through the PA.
You mean you can strike a chord and it can resonate for a little while?
For a long time.
What? Pam just jumped in the chat and she just put out a freaking biography here. She says, how's that any different than when you have two mainlining artists who record together, then use a video for one of their parts during a concert? Look at, she says, Hardy and Lainey Wilson. I don't listen to either one of them. The first thing that came to my mind was Kid Rock and whoever he did that duet with.
Oh, Sheryl Crow?
Sheryl Crow. Do you think that she went on every show with him? No. Did he possibly sing his part and then maybe have her on a backing track? Sure. Who cares? None of you people were complaining when you were listening to Milli Vanilli and putting them at number one.
Well, let me ask you a question, though. Is that how Kid Rock does that song?
I don't know. Probably not. But I'm just as an example. Who gives a shit if he does?
Well, I was just thinking a lot of people, like Lita Ford, Close My Eyes Forever. Doesn't she have her guitar player sings the Ozzy parts to that?
Yeah.
I believe so. That makes sense to me.
But would you be pissed off as somebody going to her concert if she sang her part and the backing track contained Ozzy's part, especially even now after Ozzy's gone? Would that disappoint you? I don't care. I'd be okay listening to Ozzy, even though I know he's not there.
I think especially with Ozzy, because he's passed and he's so iconic, that if she performed that song and had the permissions, when his parts pop up, it's also a video of him doing it. That would be badass.
Just to clear up what Pam was talking about, she said backup artist. Yeah, to me, there's no difference. There's no difference between having a backing track or using a backup artist. It's not the same person. It's not Lainey Wilson singing it. It's not Sheryl Crow singing it.
No,
you have
but if
somebody else.
You have someone else come out on stage, because Lainey Wilson or whomever may not coordinate their same tour at the same time that Hardy or whomever is.
But I think that's what her point is. Who cares?
Right.
There's no difference.
No, I would prefer it to be live.
Well, yeah.
If Hardy has a backup singer that comes out and does that, that would be better for me.
Sure.
But also, do you expect Hardy to not play that song?
No.
Right. So he's going to find a way to do it.
Yeah. Does Metallica not do... Never mind, because I can't remember the song.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But yeah. Right. Yeah, that's what it was. That's how I forgot it. John 5 was not just in the news for the backing tracks, which again isn't happening. I'm going to go back to my Milli Vanilli statement. But John 5 also revealed during the same interview that he has not spoken to Rob Zombie since leaving Rob Zombie to join Mötley Crüe. So that's what, 3 years, 4 years? Yeah. He was with Rob Zombie for 17
years,
contributing to 5 studio albums and performing at obviously hundreds of shows. According to John 5, there was no animosity between the two when he left, although without a doubt, Rob Zombie was a little disappointed that John 5 was leaving. However, good luck. Have fun. I mean, you get the opportunity to join up with Mötley Crüe, you're going to turn it down? Yeah, you've got a pretty sweet gig going with Rob Zombie,
right?
Who is co-headlining right now with Marilyn Manson on tour.
Right.
But John 5 is getting ready to go out on a 40-date tour with Mötley Crüe, showcasing his talents. As we know, Mötley Crüe, very, very guitar up front.
Let me ask you a question. Because Mötley Crüe is stadium level, a lot of places.
Sure.
But I don't know that Rob is. Rob is not stadium level, is he?
Well, so the Mötley Crüe tour is not going to be stadium. That's going to be like Ruoff.
This time,
Zombie is also going to be Ruoff, but again, this is Zombie and Marilyn Manson. So,
co-headline.
But here, I see what you're saying, but I think maybe a few years ago,
I'm trying to see if he leveled up.
I don't think
like,
so.
Like did he leave a steady gig that's sustainable? Just because he went to this bigger thing. It's that kind of an opportunity.
But wasn't John 5 also with Marilyn Manson at some point? Marilyn Manson punched him?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, Google that one. Not right now. Wait till the show's over. But I'm pretty sure that also happened. But I don't think he leveled up. I think he went something different. You're doing essentially the same thing for 17 years. Sure, John 5 has all the talent in the world to do whatever, but now you get a chance to go do some 80s metal, some 80s hard rock, and you're replacing an iconic guitar player in Mick Mars, who has made Mötley Crüe what Mötley Crüe is, other than the voice of Vince Neil. I don't know. I don't think I could pass it up.
Manson kicked him in the chest?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a video of it. You got to pull it up.
Well, and he already had a friendship established with Nikki Sixx. John
Exactly. Now, who's at fault here? I think John 5's at fault. He's the one that left the band. He should have reached out to Rob Zombie. But who cares? Play your music. Enjoy it. But, who cares?
Well, and these are two stories that, keep getting brought up.
Exactly.
The backing tracks just constantly get brought up, and I don't know why. because it's not like when people listen to, and I'm not knocking Mötley Crüe, but it's not like they sound perfect.
No.
When you hear them, it sounds good. It's Mötley Crüe.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the backing track thing keeps coming up. I don't
know. I'm tired of it, actually. But you know what? I am sure we'll talk about it again next week and the week after that and the week after that and the week after that. Speaking of backing tracks that aren't really backing tracks because you can't even hear it because of, reasons. Jason Newsted, who we mentioned again last week, with the release of the Metallica stuff that's getting ready to come out, the boxed album. Jason Newsted has come out and said, no, I do not want them to remix the bass on Injustice for All if they end up doing a 40th anniversary edition. Why is this relevant, you ask? Well, because Injustice for All basically has zero bass to it. There's a little bit.
It's way down in the mix.
Yeah, but it's way, way down there. Lots of rumors. It was because Jason was new, the first album that he had done, so they weren't giving him his credit. This is him paying his dues, blah, blah, blah.
Messing with the new guy.
Yeah, messing with the new guy. But Jason Newsted, who was with Eddie Trunk here recently, he explained why he hopes that Metallica doesn't do this bass remix if they decide to release that. And he says this, and I quote, "It's been 35 years or something, and it's more than half my life. I don't really pay too much attention to that. What I've come to with all of this, because people still like to bring it up, and I'm pretty happy that they do, is that we probably wouldn't be talking about it 35 years later with any kind of interest. In other words, if the bass was there, they wouldn't be talking about it, and nobody would care." Newsted noted that Lars allegedly wrote "Turn Bass Down on Stereo" on the original cassette tape of Metallica's 1982 No Life Till Leather demo, suggesting that the drummer preferred hearing his band's music that way from the very beginning. 82, No Life Till Leather, that is a lot. That's what, 6 or 7 years from Injustice for All? So Jason Newsted, who performed the bass tracks, was like, don't, leave it alone. Everybody, if you want to listen to it with bass, go to YouTube. YouTube has that. You can go on it because there are people that have, there's people that have already done it. They're like,
they brought it up.
Yeah, they've done it. You can hear it. Does it sound good? Abso-freaking-lutely it does. I love a good bass line.
I do too.
On metal songs. It's great. But that's not the way Injustice for All was created. It's not the way it was made. It's not the way we heard it when it first came out.
Right. Now you're taking something that has been established a certain way and you're tainting it.
Yeah. Now, Jason Newsted does admit that he was effing livid after hearing the album for the first time because he thought that he played absolutely fantastic on it. He said they mixed it on how it was supposed to be mixed. That's over time. He has come to realize that. And I don't know if that's my first album with this badass band. And I'm like, heck yeah, I can't wait to hear myself. And then you can't hear yourself. I think I'd be pretty miffed.
Well, think of all the work you went into in putting in the bass lines. You're creating the bass lines and you're trying to make it sync to the rhythm that you need. Plus you want to make it unique and all this other stuff, all this work.
Right.
So why didn't they just tell him that in the first place? This is how we're going to mix it. So don't get too elaborate. Pluck your string on 1 and 3 and that's it.
Because let's pick on the new guy. That's what it was.
Right.
Yeah. We have a couple more stories, at least one for sure, because this one's not going to take a long time to go through. But we've discussed this a long time ago, how during the David Lee Roth Van Halen final reunion tour, everybody was like all ticked off because Wolfgang was involved and Michael Anthony was not. However, in a recent interview, Alex Van Halen has, allegedly set the record straight. He says that Michael Anthony was actually offered the gig. So where does it go from there? Actually, he says this. He goes, we did call. To put the record straight, we did call Mike because we owed him that, and he just didn't answer. Here's my thoughts on this. If Michael Anthony didn't answer, maybe he was pissed.
Yeah.
You're going to treat me like this. When, if you know anything about Michael Anthony and the vocals that he provides for Van Halen, or in this case for Sammy Hagar, it's intense. So maybe he was just like, you know what? Maybe he was at a time of his life and he was like, no, I think I'm good. And I really don't want to go back out with David Lee Roth. Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm not sure he and Eddie were getting along well at the time. There was a lot of issues in that band. They had talked about Michael Anthony's bass skills diminishing. They had to reteach him parts, that sort of thing. They had to videotape how to play the parts and then make him watch the tape and crazy things. I'll be interested to see the rebuttal to this.
Definitely.
Well, it's coming. Yeah.
It is.
Because he's got an interview scheduled already this week on another show.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. We'll see what he has to say about that. One thing that was in our description of tonight's episode that we have not touched on because it was just going to take a couple seconds. We have already posted it on our social media. Because as soon as we were done last week, I had to go and find it and I wanted to listen to it. But if you have not checked it out yet, it's for the kids. This new Anthrax song is absolutely off the freaking hinges. It, to me, to use up at least a minute and a half of what we've got left, to me, this blends the John Bush era of Anthrax with the badass guitar solos that we've had here, in the recent history, along with the lyrical value of what you expect from, dare I say, ancient Anthrax. This song is killer. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is called It's for the Kids. Golly. This song blew me out of the water.
I didn't know what to think of the intro.
That freaking Scott Ian guitar?
That was so different.
What?
And then it kicks into this real nice melody with Joey Belladonna singing. And it sounds so good. And then we're back to that weird intro again. But it all fits together really nice. And it's aggressive. Yeah. Oh my gosh, is it aggressive?
Yeah. A lot of people think of Anthrax. They think, oh yeah, they were one of the original thrash metal bands. Sure. This teeters on the edge of thrashiness and
on the edge
and metal. It's just a metal song. It is. If Anthrax is not your cup of tea, listen to it anyway. This may change your mind. I'm not telling you to go back and listen to things like I Am the Man and stuff like that, but I think you should. But it's for the kids. If you missed it, the video is actually on our YouTube page. We posted it. Please go watch it. And one last thing before we go, there is a new song coming from President tomorrow, if you were into that band. And the very last thing before we go, congratulations. After 17 seconds of whooping that ass to Ronda freaking Rousey.
That was a fun one. I thought.
Woo!
I thought people complained.
Loved it.
But what did they expect? That's what she does.
Love it.
She does.
Yeah.
I love it.
That is Ronda Rousey. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
That's right.
Yeah. See ya next week.